Hey everyone, welcome back to noseyAF, conversations about art, activism, and social change. I'm your host and friend, Stephanie Graham, and it's August, which means it's Black Business Month. Crowd go wild. And, to celebrate Black Business Month here at noseyAF, it is our great pleasure to introduce you to a new series called 31 Days of Black Business. So, this means that every single day this month, I am handing you someone who is wise, who is wonderful, beautiful, funny, and they are open for business. So today's guest does baby showers, they do galas, they do community summits, food drives, and she has party favors that she makes all by herself. Ticina Williams founded Creativiti Custom Designs and Events in Chicago, and after a craft class she only took because she got dropped from her college courses one summer. It's a bummer, but you know what? If that hadn't happened, would we have Creativiti Custom Designs and Events? And by the way, that's creativity with an I. So I am so excited for you to meet Ticina, and let's go ahead and play our theme song. And here we go. Welcome to noseyAF.
Gotta get up, tell the whole world you a winner. Vision of a star with a mission and a cause. What you doing, how you doing, what you doing, and who you are. Flex yourself, impress yourself. Check yourself, don't wreck yourself. If you know me, then you know that I be knowing what's up. Hey, Stephanie Graham is nosy as
Welcome to noseyAF.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here, as you can hear.
Yes, I'm so excited as well. For people meeting you for the first time, what is Creativiti Custom Design and Events?
So, Creativiti Custom Designs and Events is a full service event planning, consulting, and party supply company based in Chicago. The name Creativity is spelled the way it is because people call me T, and my name is spelled Ticina. And so I am essentially the T in creativity. I started the company some years ago, just taking some classes at Michael's, and I just got totally unlocked my creative side. And from there, I just kind of got serious about business. So if anybody would want to know, that's what we specialize in creating customized experiences for people through events, products, and services.
I love that you are a party supply company. I feel like the party supply store is RIP.
Yes. And so initially, I got into it because, like I mentioned, I started taking some crafting classes on a whim. I was actually in business school, about to be finished with school. I was maybe in my junior, senior year. And I would typically, I'm a working mom. I'm a mom of, at that time, I was a mom of 3 boys, but now I'm a mom of 4. I would typically work and also take classes, and I would take classes during the summer. And one particular day, for whatever reason, I got dropped from my classes, and I said, okay, I'm going to. I was kind of upset about it, but I had talked to a coworker, and she told me she at that time was a person that made custom cakes, and this was back about 10 years ago. So it was before all of the custom stuff really exploded. But she would make cakes if you wanted a fishing themed cake and all of these kinds of things. So she showed me some of her pictures of her work, and she told me, I learned how to do this at Michael's. And so I was like, oh, okay. So me being the busybody that I am, kicked out of my college classes, and I'm like, I can't sit at home for the summer, even though I'm working and doing other stuff. I'm gonna take some crafting classes at the Michaels. So I dragged my little sister along. She was home from college. And my children at that time were probably in third, fourth grade. And so we learned how to paper craft. We learned how to make dip treats and all of those things. And so from there, like I said, I started to create different things for my children. And the youngest son at the time, his name was Jalen, and Jalen was making about 3 years old. And I said, "What kind of birthday party do you want?" And he was very specific. He says, because they're big LeBron fans, and he says, "I'll be getting me heat. LeBron James' birthday party. And so from there, I had to figure out how to bring that to life. And so that consisted of me um, making assorted bags and boxes and all of these kinds of things to bring the theme alive. And then as the boys got older and my skills trans my skills grew a little bit, also started to notice that when I was licensing images to
Mhm.
make party supplies for them, that a lot of the images did not look like them. They were not black, they were not brown.
Mm.
And so that was a big point of contention for me because I wanted something that was in their image. So it just really set me on creating my own supplies that celebrate that diversity, that inclusivity, and has transcended from just not only black and brown, but it just inclusive even for disabilities and just anything that you can think of. I really work with our client to create something that is customized to that person, whatever that may be. So
Wow. First, shout out to Jalen and his
yes,
specificity.
yes,
I
yes,
love that. That's so sweet.
yes. He's a Taurus. He's my creative child, and he was like, "Oh, you want to know? You want a theme?" He's like, "Okay, I'll give you one." And he's 18 now.
Okay, wow. And I love that you learned all those things at Michael's. Wow.
Michael's back, like I said, about 10, 11 years ago. Actually, this week, because I think my memories are coming up in Snapchat because I kind of snapped those things. And yep, I learned them at Michael's, and I just really continue to grow my skills. I've taken other courses and things,
Sure.
but I literally started with that. But I'm more I don't do a lot of cakes and things like that and desserts.
Okay.
I focus more on paper treats and party favors and things like that.
Got it. Got it. So it's not like if we need the crepe paper, we reach out to you, but if we need the custom,
Right.
got
Right.
you. Got
Right.
you.
I mean, and I won't say that, but I specialize and I work better with those who require someone that is creative. So if
Sure.
you just want, if it's just kind of like, you may could do that yourself. But that's not to say that I can't do it. I can handle a range of events. But if you come to me, it don't matter, even if your vision may be like, oh, I'm no fuss. My best friend is very no fuss. We gonna fuss.
I love it. I
We
love
gonna
it.
fuss. But I
And
figure out what is your no fuss. What does that mean for you though?
got
Because what I think may not be what it is for you. So whatever it is what we're gonna customize to you to make sure that you enjoy that experience.
yeah, and it's events of all types.
Yes, I do events of
Okay.
all types. From social events. I've actually planned community events like forums, summits, and things of that nature as well. I also work with a lot of faith-based organizations in producing events for them as well. So, whether it's food giveaways, just regular
Wow.
outreach things, or
Yeah.
just outreach for the community, the church population, like themed events, setting up dinners and that kind of thing, galas,
Yeah.
things like.
Wow. Yeah. So like our 50th birthday party, a gala,
Yes. Yes. Full
food
service.
drive. Yes, I love it.
Full service. Yeah. And what you get, what kind of separates me from people is that you get both sides. So I am very administrative. I am very much a planner, business student. So I want to know everything about your event. I don't just care about the decor. I need to know times, what time are things happening, who's point person, that kind of thing, as well as then you get also my creative, like, okay, well, we're gonna do these colors, this is gonna pop, we're gonna have these flowers. I'm very big on food and beverage, hospitality, those kinds of things. So we're food and beverages has to be on point. What are we serving for dessert? People love to eat and drink really good. So
Yeah,
those
for
kinds of things.
sure.
So all across the board, I service my clients.
I love it. What point did you realize that creativity, custom design, and events could become a business?
After doing different events for my children, creating those experiences for them, of course, early on, we party for everything. We did into school celebrations, your tooth came out, things.
Mhm.
And because it was more than just events, it was also just experiences, play dates for them, theme play dates, renting out movie theaters, and making customized treats bags for them to take to the movie theater. And so of course after that, word of mouth got around from friends and family, like, hey, can you do this or that? Early on, my big claim to fame is like dessert bars and treat tables and things like that. So I would sometimes bring back the old school candy, the fruities and things like that. So the treat table would break all the way down because people want to take the items and then all of the custom stuff. And so I learned really quickly that little kids and adults alike, I find out who likes sweet stuff, who's interested in just like the setup. They're just watching the logistics of it. Like, okay, you're putting that there. But then you also find the ones that like. So a lot of times while I'm setting up, the kid will book and say, "You're doing my birthday."
Okay.
I told my mom. I told my mom that you're doing my birthday next month. And so they'll book that way. Or then, of course, just regular referrals, word of mouth. And then also social media. I actually really built my business online via Facebook.
Wow.
So as I mentioned, I was in school when I started the business, and I was actually in school for business management and thinking that I would have a consulting firm and work with people with building their business development, and then also income tax, because at that time I was studying accounting as well. And but after I graduated and I had already started seeing, oh, I may be onto something, I got a business mentor from SCORE, and she recommended, because I was starting out and I had just done things for just my own personal events. She said, "How about you start like a portfolio? Everything you do, start a Facebook business page and then upload it to there." So that's what I did. Literally for like the first 6 months, nobody knew the page existed but me and my best friend. I was sometimes like log in and it'll be like, "You have 42 likes." But I'm like, "Ooh, who could it be?" And it'd be just her like liking everything that she saw. And she saw on the page, like, oh, okay, this, because she's not a real big social media person. So she has to like periodically check in. I'm the social media girl. And so from there, just putting things up there as on social media as well also elevated my profile to other people. And that was really like the claim to fame as well. It's just from really being able to put my work on Facebook, because everybody was on Facebook at that time. You know,
Yeah. Speaking of claim to fame, you started creativity custom parties and events.
yes.
Yes.
Don't forget to, yes, 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 yes. I know it's so now
Um,
it's creativity for short.
okay, cute. Cool, cool. Thank you for that grace. Um, you guys started in 2015. Wow, you've been in business for a minute.
Yes,
Congratulations.
thank you. The longevity
Yeah.
uh, of it, and sometimes I even laugh, thinking, I literally just took some classes and unlocked something. I would have never, before taking those classes, and even at the class, even afterwards, I wasn't particularly even good at the skill at the time, and I was like, okay, I was kind of clunky with it, and but I went home and I could not sleep. And I started looking up YouTube videos about paper crafting and what that was, and what kind of paper you could get, what kind of tools. And that just like I literally couldn't sleep. I was up and I had to be at work very early in the morning, and I literally had like an hour's worth of sleep because I was that like enthralled into it. And so to think I've come from just something that started with me like tagging my sister along, and my son even ended up tagging along with us too, to go to, like, I'm like, well, can he come? He was at home, he was feeling sick. I'm like, well, come on, you can go to class with me. And he even went, and for it to have now be for us to still be in business 10 years later,
Yeah.
things are still looking up for us. We've each year, over year, we've expanded our services. So we initially just, kind of started out with the social events, and grew a little bit more into community based things and faith based organizations. Um, Also, I learned a little bit more about design and how to create a picture digitally, and to create products that create that bring certain themes to life. And that opened up a big door for me because a lot of event planners are not the artisan themselves for the most part. They are the people who book the vendors that do the dessert table, that do the balloons, that are the entertainment, and then they kind of manage those things. Well, with me, I can manage all those things, and then a lot of the products I create myself. That's how I know that it is customized because I hand create it. So even if you have the same theme as the next person, the event is gonna look different because it's handmade. So I sometimes I can't even recreate it myself, depending upon what materials we're using, if they're still available, and that sort of thing. And even and now I've gotten into it so that even to myself, I can't not customize it. I can't like just duplicate. So that's where the struggle is, Stephanie. So you didn't ask me about any struggles. That's a struggle. No, I'm just joking.
No,
I'm
okay,
just joking.
we're gonna totally get there. When I was thinking, like, in 2015, you had the Dare Safari shower?
Yes.
Yeah, you
So
have to
that's
tell
my
us about
cousin.
that. Okay.
Okay. So there is my cousin. So at that time, like I said, I had just been doing stuff for just my own kids. And I started building, getting my own rental equipment, my candy jars and all of these things. And this is when dessert tables were just really starting to happen. Like people were really just starting to get into them. Now it's standard. Like everywhere you go, you're gonna get some kind of favor or a table or something. But she had put up a post and said, does anybody have any candy jars for my baby shower? And so I said, I have some you can use. And I just actually just got them and this, that, and the third. So she said, okay, thanks. And so we started to talk and she's like, I need somebody to help me with my baby shower. And she's like, I'm fighting with my siblings. And so I said, I'll do it. I'll help you. And so what I decided to do was combine both treats that could be eaten at that time, as well as little favors and little gifts in boxes and bags that you could take with you. So again, the table breaks completely down. Only just the stands, and sometimes I have to tell people, "Hey, that's not a part of the giveaway.
Yeah.
Bring that
Put that
back.
down. Put that
That's a
down.
stand, right?"
Yeah.
But it'll totally break down where they were just taking things with them. And so just that shower, she literally, I always tell her, like, joke with her. I say, you created a monster because from then on, then again, the word of mouth, people seeing that on Facebook, hey, can you do my event? And then I just built from there. And that went from me helping her with that. And I literally walked her through the entire process of her shower. And of course, with help of the family, like she made up with her brothers. It wasn't, and her sister, it wasn't like deep like that. But,
Thank God. Yeah.
right, thank God, because sometimes stuff gets deep, but it wasn't deep like that. But everybody came together. And from then on, it was just like, like I said, a monster was created. And then I just decided to continually grow. Now, which that served me the fact that traditional treat tables at that time would be like cupcakes and maybe little puff pastries and things that you could take with you, but you're not really throwing it in your purse.
Mm.
And if you're not a person that really, like, I have a son that doesn't really like cake or cupcakes. So or pretzel sticks and things like that, like chocolate covered things. So he'd be like, "Oh no, thanks." So I would try to think of something for each person. When my boys, one of the elements that I brought back was pinatas, like simple things that we used to do. That was a big hit. And just like all of those creative elements to create these customized experiences for people. And again, the customization comes from the fact that I hand create the products. So, it comes from me. So
And
yeah.
and 10 years later, you've
Yes.
worked on everything from baby showers to community summits. How
Yes.
how does your approach change when the goal is community impact instead of celebration?
So my process is always the same all across the board. Where it again, I work very closely with the client. So it always starts with a consultation to understand what the goal is of the event. Some events, although they're community based, they may be a gala, so there is a celebratory element to it. However, the ultimate goal is fundraising. So, so then my job may be a little bit different as far as how we reach that. Also with community organizations, sometimes also too what I've found is someone with my experience and education and skills could be kind of expensive for those organizations. And so I do a lot of in kind work with organizations as well. For instance, one of my now friends and colleagues is a minister, and she has a prayer brunch every year. So I typically work with her to facilitate, to make sure that the entire overall event and the program goes well. And then, of course, I'll also do a dessert table and some of the other creative elements, favors and things that match, the speaker and things like that. So the process and kind of the approach is always the same. Where it is customized is dependent upon the client. So that's where I would have to adjust and shift based upon what it is that the client, what it is that they articulate. And then some people know, I have kind of like two clients. I have, one where they know exactly what they want. They've seen it. They're like, look, this is, they may just want you to change a thing or two here or there, but they're like, this is the vision. And then I have some people that I have to walk them through what exactly the vision is. They know they want something, but they may not be as they may take a little bit more massaging to get to exactly what it is that they require. And I let people know some too, like, and I ask a lot of questions. I do a lot of independent research. I do a lot of listening, because those things help you to identify what exactly that what their process is. um and yeah, so just all across the board, it's like the process is pretty much the same. Community impact though is extremely important. Like I said, I do a lot of in kind work. I do a lot of volunteering. I do a lot of sponsorship as far as donating products and things to events, because it is important to me just as a business owner to give back.
Yeah.
And so, to make sure that not only as the community supports me, I support the community as well.
Yeah. At what point in your business did you start incorporating like the in kind work? Last year, I took a class, like sort of like a business class, and there were business owners in there who are like, I really want to give back, I want to support, but I can't afford it. I can't afford to
Yes.
right now. I need to make money. What do you have to say about that? When did you start incorporating the in kind work?
So I probably didn't start really doing a lot of in kind until maybe about 5 or 6 years ago. Um, so I do understand the reason why I laughed is because my very first in kind experience wasn't a good experience per se, but it was a very good learning lesson for me. And what to look for in opportunities, and being very clear on what the mutual benefit would be for not only just me donating in kind of my services, but what would the benefit be for me. So I early on made the mistake of donating to a conference that was located out of state, and like it was a very very large order. It was maybe about 300 pieces,
Oh my
and it was
gosh.
very, yes, it was very expensive. And I did everything that was asked and sent it through, and there was no follow up, there was no tagging. There was like I had to go and search, because I am very good at searching online, to search and find pictures to get my own collateral. And so that was a very big learning lesson for me. But now, I try to, if I can't afford to do it, then I don't do it. But for the most part, I have been blessed to be able to at least donate some things. I'm a crafter, I'm a creative. I really can create something out of nothing.
Yeah.
So, and being that, and that's something else too that I want to highlight as well. That is one of the reasons too why I work with paper, because paper is ink and things can get expensive. Don't get me wrong, a paper can get expensive, but I can literally take a piece of paper and transform it, which helps me keep costs low for my clients and for the community. So, yeah. So I always tell my clients that I'm like, that's why I ask about budget, because we can do anything if you got that, and if you got an unlimited budget, we can go way up here,
Yeah.
But if we're working, here, then that's fine. Well, that's cool. But we just, we're gonna level set. So it really just vary.
So when somebody's interested, you just said it's about budget. Is that when somebody thinks about hiring an event planner, are they
Mhm.
thinking about how much money they have to spend on this event and then your fee is placed on top of that? Or is your fee wrapped in, like, how should we think about that? I think my question.
So because this is where me and my clients sometimes where, we be getting along good until we talk about budget, and then they kind of clam up on me. The budget, when a event planner is asking for the budget, it is not to say, well, okay, let's say if you say it's $10,000. It's not for me to be like, okay, well, I'm not gonna stop till I spend $10,000. I'm gonna make sure we hit, but it is to have a ceiling of what you're planning to spend. Now, of course, most times that is not the case. They do not have $10,000 laying around for a birthday party. It's typically the opposite. It's typically there is only a smaller amount. Now the question is, how do we work with that? So in some instances where my in kind will come in is that whereas I could itemize and charge every little thing, I won't. I will some things I just do as far as the sake of the project. But for budget, there it is typically what you are prepared to expend for that event, and then the event planner's fee is different
It's
on
different.
top.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
different. It could be somewhere from hourly, or it could be a set. This is what my fee is to be your day of coordinator and manage your vendors. The contract is $5,000 on top of whatever your budget is. But the budget is just so that we can understand. Because again, if I don't know what your budget is and I'm thinking Dubai, and you're like, "Nah, more like Kentucky," like we're not going that far. We're gonna go away, but we're going, a little closer. Then that just helps me narrow it down. Sometimes I'll get people that we have to say, well, you may have to expand that. And then that's where my job comes in, because then I do that research and I'm letting you know, like, listen, to do this, and this, typically this is what the standard is, and so it's going to be around this ballpark.
Okay.
And then you can say what you want. And again, how I try to customize it is that we figure out how we can do that. Some people, they don't care about the food and the drink. They're like, cut some of those sandwiches,
Yeah.
and like, let's amp up the florals. Then you have some, they're like, I only want good food. I want everybody laughing, drinking. I want the drinks flowing. Hold the balloons. And so we figure it out.
Yeah. Thank you for explaining that because I never knew how that worked.
I know. And some people may have something different, but that is the industry standard.
Yeah. Well, it seems like it would make sense because it also protects you as well with all of the research and paper
Yes,
crafting that you're doing and everything. I see how it would be separate. Any
yes.
tips for when we do hear that, what's your budget? I feel like there becomes this like tense, like as a potential client, like this tension as if you like what you trying to say, when you're just trying to get a
Right.
number. Any tips to, not make us want to puff up our chest when you're just trying to get an idea to help us with our
Well, I
events?
mean, I explain it to my clients. I do a buffer before we talk, because with anything with money, you get,
Yeah. I
sometimes you
know it
know
could
like,
be embarrassing. Like,
yeah, it could be embarrassing, it be triggering, like all kinds of things. So I always preface it with, this is just to get an understanding. And we can, again, if it is not realistic, then I'll let you know that it is not realistic, and maybe here's some options that we can
Okay.
pivot to. Because nothing is impossible. So I just always tell my clients, again, this is just to help me understand where we're working, where our ceiling is, where you feel uncomfortable, or where you feel most comfortable. It's typically, like I said, some people will come out, and some still. I still have to be creative in getting them to to really say a number. Typically, I get a spontaneous or an organic reaction if I'm saying, okay, well, $500 for the florals, then you're gonna say $500. No,
Yeah.
I was thinking 200.
Yeah.
Then it's easier. You get it that way. But for most part, I just tell people like it's not like just I'm not saying it's to trigger you. It's not to like get in your business to be like, oh well, she got $10,000 to spend on this event. We're gonna make sure that 10,000 is spent. No, we what I mean, and even more or whatever, no, it's just to get an understanding, and then we line item it out so that the client is clear on, what you're being charged for and why. And you can ask, and so since I said, and if you don't like, I'm open door, so I have these conversations with my clients, which is why sometimes it's a little harder for me to scale because it does require me to spend a little bit of time with them, on things, and I do understand. I am very realistic in, if you see my work and seen some of my events, you may notice that I'm a little bit different. I'm a lot different than a lot of typical event planners, or even what they say like decorators or stylists, in that, again, each event looks different because the environment may be different, the resources that are available, the materials may be different, and it's not anything wrong with that.
Yeah.
It just is what it is. So I do try to, like I said, work with my clients. I try to preface that so that they understand that that's why it's custom. That's why you come to a person that works customized to you and what your experience is. And don't be afraid to say that. It's my pleasure to bring that forward for you. And again, if it's not ideal or if it's not realistic, then that's also my job to say, not in a rude way, like, girl, what you thinking? But to say, I've done some research, and from what I found, because I've even called places, like I don't play around. I'll price match. I'm not gonna just like spend your money. I'll call a few places, and then we work through it together. We meet your budget that way.
Yeah. It's nice to know that integrity is one of the values at Creativity.
Yes, it is. It's very high. Yes, it
Yeah.
really is. It really is. Because
Yeah.
again, I'm a consumer too, and I don't want anybody to beat me out of anything. And
Yeah, seriously.
a lot of my earlier jobs were in customer service. So, and I worked at Walgreens, and they're very high customer service oriented. And so I still carry that into my business as well. Like, I try to accommodate my customers as best I can. They're kind of always right for the most part.
Yeah. I've heard you say that some of the successful events are having our dessert table, having a party favor. What else do we need for our events?
So I'm big on kind of having like a program. So
Okay.
if it's a birthday party, or it's I don't I sometimes have you ever been somewhere and it's really pretty and it's really, everything's, it's nice, but you don't know what's going on. You don't
Yeah.
know, can you take this? You don't know what time the food, like you don't know what's happening. So I try to encourage us. That's why I say like I'm concerned with the entire event, because once everything is set up, then when the guests come, are you going to have an MC? Are the games going to start? Are people just talking amongst themselves? Because that's cool, but you kind of have an idea. At what time do you want to open up the gifts? Sometimes, stuff happens where you don't quite, but you at least have an idea of where, what's going on. So that's one thing, like, just, where your guests are not just like sitting there not understanding what's happening.
Yeah.
Um, Always really good to have enough food and beverage for folks. we love a good snack, a good plate,
Yeah.
and a drink in abundance, you know. Um, keeps things going. And then like, entertainment. So whether that's some music, some kind of performance,
Okay.
something, to entertain your guests and thank them for, coming out to celebrate you or to fundraise with you or whatever it is that you're doing. So those kind of things make successful events for me. Just, being um thoughtful in, what you want from your event outside of just does it look pretty?
Yeah.
Or does it take good pictures? And then we love a good, of course, we love a good picture, a good, beautiful room and theme. I love a good theme.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Okay.
love a good theme.
I love that. I love that 101 just for the listeners, like, just like for hosting. I think the program, that's so smart. I feel like even if it's just something that you could just print up and
Yeah.
have like on the wall or like something to pass out, I think that's so chic.
And
I
it
love it.
also helps because and then I'll also tell people, like, even if you don't have an event planner, if you have a friend that's helping,
Yeah.
if they kind of know, if you were able to say, listen, we were supposed to be serving the sandwiches, but the balloons were late or whatever, that person may now can, okay, let me get those sandwiches out. Or they can say, hey, everybody, thanks for coming. We're having a little bit of a delay, but if nobody knows what's going on and you're handling whatever it is that's the delay, or if you're just not thinking about it, then it's just like, okay, you're just sitting there and you're like, okay, you like looking around like, okay, is somebody gonna know what's gonna happen? Are
Right.
they gonna come from this way, or what? It can be kind of like off-putting as a guest. So just having again, it doesn't have to be like a strict itinerary, like 3:30 to 4. Guests come in and sit down, 4 to 4:30
You're like,
talk.
yeah, don't you see the itinerary? Sit down. Sit
Sit down,
down.
right. Talk from this time to this time. Cake from this time. So, it doesn't have to be that deep, but having somebody like to just host and make sure things are kind of flowing for you
Yeah.
is cool, you know. And
You
checking in
really
with your guests.
Yeah, you really seem like you know how to throw a party. Are your friends ever
Yes.
intimidated to, like, have you over?
No, girl, they love it.
Okay, because it's like,
They
when it's
love
like an
it.
event, like you're an event planner, or they might just be having, like, a movie night. They're like, "Oh my god, I
Yeah.
don't have my itinerary. What am I gonna do?"
No, they love it. And I'm that friend that even when I'm not working, I'm working.
Yeah.
I'm taking these cups. Okay. The red cups over here, the yellow ones. So I'm gonna kick in anyway. So they love it. So much in fact, because I used to do all kind of play dates and we would craft for the kids and all of this stuff. And then my kids got a little older and I stopped and my friend started having her kids. And then one day she's like, when are you going to start back to crafting? And I thought that I was like making them. I thought they were just participating because they were like supporting me. But everybody enjoyed them from the children to the adults. And so I said, okay, I got to get back into it. And now I have a 6-year-old. So I had my fourth son in 2019. And so I get to discover it all over again. I'm never like judging, like, this was a mess, if they would
Yeah.
have hired me. I'll just kick in. If I feel that strong, I'll just kick in with my skills and help,
Yeah.
If I see something going and I'm like, oh, I know this is a better way. If you are open to it, then I'll help before
Yeah.
I be like, oh, I would never.
Oh, that's really nice. You're such a nice friend.
Yes, I am. I am. But I know I would never make anybody, I'm the hostess with the mostest, but everybody is not.
Okay, let's talk about your online store that you're launching.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
you've opened an online store.
Yes.
Tell us about it.
So, like I had mentioned, initially when I started my business, I would have to buy things from, whether it be Etsy or, outsource different things. And as I started to design more digitally, I would license different characters and different digital art, from other artists and use those things to create my products. And again, I noticed that there were not a lot of products and party favors that highlight Black and Brown children. So I started to create my own product line.
Okay.
So the Creativity online store, that the product line features mostly Black and Brown characters and just diverse characters just in general. So whether it's Valentine's Day, Juneteenth, Easter, all of my products highlight those things. And then you can also just order regular party favors. So, like
Okay.
regular chip bags and water bottle labels that feature the characters that I design. And
Yeah.
so yeah, so I'm very excited about that, because it was
Yeah.
just something that was on my spirit to do, and, being a mom of 4 African American boys, it was very important for me to, create things that look like them and that reflect their image as well.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you hope Black and brown children feel when they see themselves reflected in your products?
I want them to feel proud and, to be able to identify, to see, that to be proud of their features, their hair, and even just the diversity in and of our people,
Yeah.
that we're all shades, we're all sizes, and just the diversity of people in general. So I hope that they feel proud. I hope that they see themselves and see the greatness. Like all of the products are positive and affirming. So I want them to feel affirmed and confident and say, "Hey, that looks like me, and I can do that. I can go on the moon, or I could be a cowboy, or whatever." Because as we know, it's very important. You kind of can't. It's harder to be what you can't see.
Mhm.
And so when you have that example, especially children, they watch. And so that's
Yeah.
what I want them to see. I want them to be affirmed and to see themselves and the products, and to know, like, hey, this was created for me or somebody that looks like me.
Yeah, that's so important. You're so right. Kids really do watch. I remember I was talking to a guy who he was a rocket scientist,
Okay.
and he got into it because these rocket scientists came and did an activity with him and his classmates when he was, like, 10 years old, and he
Yes.
really got into it and, like, started to, like, follow it, but he said he had no interest in it before. He was just, like, playing
Yeah.
baseball, and then, like, one day, these kids came in, they're probably just like, recent graduates who can care less, making like 20 bucks an hour, like, yeah, let's do this activity. And they like really
Yeah.
made an impact in
Yeah.
his
But
life,
and
changed his
right.
life.
Change his whole
Yeah.
life. And that's why those like things like that are important, again, why I do like a lot of the in-kind work or the volunteering that I do. And I show up as as a business owner, as an entrepreneur. I joke, when I was in business school 10 years ago, people were always like, "Oh, what are you going to do with that degree? You don't want to be a lawyer." And to see now the explosion of entrepreneurs and business owners and even creatives, when you said you wanted to be an artist, they're like, "What?" But now if you're creative, you're in.
Yeah.
People want to be by, they want to be your friend. That is also why I like do these kind of podcasts. I go out and I speak. I've spoke at University of Chicago's campus, talking to their incoming freshmen, encouraging them to explore, encouraging them to connect with community organizations. Because again, sometimes you can see something, or you inspire someone to do something. A lot of the things that I wanted to do is because I saw someone and I'm like, "Hey, I can do that," or "That sounds like something that identifies with me."
Yeah.
And so that like you said, like who would think that would be like, you just, and he probably didn't even think it. He's probably, but
Yeah.
then just couldn't stop thinking about it. And he's like, "You know what? I think, and it may have went down that path. So again, it's just important for me to always exemplify that in various different things. And then also just being a creative. I have 4 sons, and they're as much as they're alike, especially my older 3, they're stair steps, so they're now 20, 19, and 18. They they're very alike. They have some of the same friends because they're so close in age, but they're very different. Not all boys like sports. So, what else? So create things that just aren't, if you're this type of, oh, you have to be a gamer, or maybe you want to be a scuba diver. And so, how do I create a character or a scene that highlights that? And again, that also like helps kids to see, because like I see it with my little one. And even when I'm designing things, when my older boys were younger, that would tell me if it was a good design, because they would stop and be like, "Hey, what's that? You're making, oh, that's nice." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, okay, target audience met."
Yes.
That is, to me, is important, because early on I could not find that, and I love everyone, but I was like, this doesn't represent us,
Right. It's
and
about me.
and right, it's right, no, it don't represent us, and although I would rather it be a diverse picture than just, it doesn't reflect the identity of the target audience. So that's why it was important for me to launch this store and get those products out there, because there are other moms like me, other event planners like myself, that had those same issues. And so, in launching these digital products, it has helped me, because other event planners across the country, actually,
Yeah.
I've had people from South Carolina, New York, Atlanta, Florida, event planners reach out to me for my products to style their events, because of my design assets and those products being available.
Yeah.
One of the like most popular ones was the NBA 2K um party favors that I made. That kind of went viral on Pinterest. It's still going like super viral on Pinterest, because at that time it was just like basketball party favors. It wasn't specific to the video game, and then it didn't highlight brown characters and things like that.
Yeah.
Another one of my most popular is Coco Melon, and the brown character from Coco Melon, and just pulling him to the front of him and his family, being able to have the digital skills to create around that. Now, of course, as I'm more in business, I kind of stay away from licensed things, and I kind of create more original characters
Yeah.
by working with artists, and then also using AI technology as well to design some characters and things like that, and then I utilize other platforms to create the actual end product.
Very cool. And then will that ship all throughout the United States then, or will it just be
Yes.
downloads? Okay, cool. Cool, cool, cool.
It can ship all throughout the United States, and then but the online store, is specifically for digital
Got
downloads,
it. Okay, perfect.
so that it can run. You can, if you're up in the middle of the night like I am sometimes, like I need some water bottle labels,
Yeah.
you can just order it, and it be shipped. It'll be assembled and shipped to you.
Oh, perfect. As we wind down, I'm just so curious, like, what does legacy look like when it comes to what you're all that you've built with creativity?
Legacy, what legacy looks like to me is, I built this business for my kids. It's inspired by their personalities, their interests, their ideas, and they actually, like I said, my son, when I went and took the crafting class, he was with me once. They are the ones who give me the ideas. They are the ones who give me the feedback about pricing, and you should do this and you should do that. And so it has been important, because they've been along every step of the journey, so they see that it made to some seem like, oh, you've been in business 10 years, but that 10 years flew. And there were some highs, there were some lows,
Yeah.
but the most important thing was that I did not give up, that I kept going. And so in since then, all my three are now in college, with my last one, he'll start in August, and they're all business majors. So my goal is to pass creativity on to them, so that at least one of them will be the next CEO, to continue it into the family. And then also like just bring a fresh set of ideas and eyes to the whole thing and just take it further than where I was able to take it. So that's what it looks like to me. Like it doesn't stop with me. That I'm hoping that one of my children will take the company over and continue it. My middle son is a chef and he has his own brand where he designs graphic t-shirts, more like urban streetwear.
Mhm.
And so he may be at the helm of it. But if not, and then also maybe the little one as well, because all his entire life. My older ones knew me as a student and as a working mom, and then the business. They seemed like a transition. The little one has only ever really seen me as an entrepreneur.
Ah.
So, which has planted a seed. So I call him like a little boss baby, because he's always just like he's clued into like what I'm doing. Like even now, like when the Zoom first started, like during the pandemic, and I will be like, be quiet, this and that. But like now, like even now, he's been in and out of here a little bit, but he understands now to be like, Mom, doing something. Let me tone it down. Let me, creep around here. As we're before he just start talking like, look, I need some milk, or, I want to go here. He may even start crying or something. But now because he's used to this, he has grown. I take him to the events with me. They help set up, they help break down,
Mm.
and those they help me to, when I'm handcrafting things, they sometimes assist, and those things have helped them to land opportunities as well. So those event planning skills have, so they possibly could take it over. So it's not like they hate the business. And I'm just like, you're gonna take it over.
Okay.
But they have helped me build it the entire time.
Yeah.
They have always been at the center of it. So it's not like I'm just building and then I'm like, now you're gonna take it over. But they've helped me the entire time. So that's what legacy looks like to me. Having something that I can pass on to my children. And if they don't take it over, I know that I've planted that spirit of entrepreneurship
Yeah.
for them, and being able to create your own path, not being afraid to start over. I didn't start out an entrepreneur. Again, I was in business school thinking I would help others with their businesses, and didn't think that I would be an entrepreneur myself per se. I kind of figured I would do consulting, but I was more so getting a business degree to work corporate, like I'm gonna
Mhm.
work in the corporate world.
Yeah.
But to become an entrepreneur has taught me some of the greatest lessons about, like I said, not giving up, how to, when, pivot and things like that. Like the pandemic was definitely a pivot point for me, because my main business activity, which was events, was stopped because there were no gatherings.
Yeah.
So I had to figure out, okay, how do I pivot? And again, because I had that strong network of organizations and people, when they had projects, they called me and said, hey, do you know how to do this? Because again, I built my business online. Can you help me figure out how do I reach my online audience? Because now I have to do my sermons online, or
Mhm.
now we're doing a fundraising party on Zoom,
Yeah.
and how do I do that? And so, again, that I had to learn how to pivot, because literally I had just walked away from my job, and the pandemic happened that February, and I was like, what to do? What am I supposed to do?
Yeah.
Um, and so again, hopefully those lessons and them being, and I'm very transparent with them. I talk to them about everything,
Yeah.
about, projects I'm working on, and some of the lessons that I learned from those things. So I hope that they take those things, and utilize them in life some way. And I'm confident that they will, because I'm already seeing some of the fruits from it.
Yeah. That's awesome. Sina, thank you so
Mm.
much for being on noseyAF and sharing.
I love this time. Thank you.
Yeah, we're gonna have everything about creativity in the show notes, um, and how to purchase digital downloads and how to hire you. All of that will be in the show notes. And yeah, I just really appreciate your time.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, guys. And to the listeners, please connect with me on social media. We are Creativity Custom Designs and Events on all platforms. You can also Google Creativity Customs Designs and Events, and I'll come up and everything about us, from our work to some of the other projects that we're a part of. And, support all Black businesses. We need grace, we need continual support, referrals, and
Yeah.
just even engagement on social media. Refer us, and those things, and again, give us grace, because sometimes we don't have it all figured out. Sometimes we're figuring it out as we go along. But we still need that support to be sustainable.
That concludes another episode of Nosy AF, 31 Days of Black Business. I'm your host and friend, Stephanie Graham. I hope you took something away from today's conversation and had a good time hanging with us. Be sure to check out the show notes to learn more about today's guest and consider supporting their work. You know how it goes, whether you're making a purchase, hiring them, or simply spreading the word. Listen, who doesn't love a referral? It truly all makes a difference. Quick thank yous go out to Queen Lex and Freddie Bam Bam for the Nosy AF theme music, and Emma McGolrick, who hooked me up with the cover art and branding. Shout out to the partners and supporters for this series. You can check them out in the show notes as well. Super grateful for a partner. Hello. That's the show, friends. Until tomorrow, stay curious and take care. Bye.